Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a deep dive into a topic that's been buzzing around a lot lately, gratitude.
Ooh, yeah, gratitude. Always a good one.
We're looking at a blog post called Lunarize Gratitude as a Magnet, Attracting Positivity and Abundance.
Okay, cool.
The author, Lunarize, she's got some really interesting ideas, and she's pulling from the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. They both seem to think that gratitude is way more than just good manners.
More than just saying please and thank you, huh?
Exactly. They're saying it can actually be this powerful force that shapes our reality.
Now that's intriguing. I'm in. Let's dive in.
All right, so let's unpack this. What exactly does this kind of gratitude look and feel like? It's clearly more than surface level, right?
Right. Lunarize really emphasizes recognizing and appreciating all the good stuff in our lives, like everything. Begin small.
So not just the big wins, but the everyday things too.
Yeah, it's about shifting our focus from what we're missing to what we already have, recognizing that abundance is already there.
I get that, but how does that translate into attracting more good things? How does simply being aware of the good turn into a magnet for even more?
That's where Dr. Dispenza's work comes in. He's got this quote that really gets you thinking. He says, "Gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership."
Whoa, okay, that's a powerful statement. Can you break that down for us? What exactly does he mean by receivership?
Well, when we're truly grateful, right, when we're really feeling it, our minds naturally zero in on the positive. It's like we're opening ourselves up, becoming more receptive to all the good things that are out there.
So it's almost like we're tuning in to a frequency of abundance.
Yeah, exactly. We're shifting our mindset from scarcity to abundance, from I don't have enough to look at all that I already have. And that's what allows more good to flow in.
It's like we're making space for it.
Lunarize actually uses the analogy of a magnet, which I think is a really helpful visual.
I like that. A magnet for positivity.
When we're in a state of gratitude, we become this magnet, drawing positive experiences towards us.
Okay, this is all starting to click, but Lunarize also talks about teaching gratitude to kids. Why is that so important, and how do we actually do it?
She's a big advocate for raising grateful kids. And it makes sense, right? Gratitude is linked to well-being, emotional and psychological health. It's not just about being polite. It's about them having this deep appreciation for the good in life.
Right, so it's like setting them up for a more positive outlook from the very beginning.
Exactly. She even talks about using music. There's this song, Thankful, by the Jukebox. That's a fun way to introduce the concept to kids.
Oh, I love that. Making it fun and engaging.
Exactly. And beyond that, she talks about 3 main strategies for parents.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, modeling gratitude in your own life. Kids learn by watching us, right? So showing them what gratitude looks like in our everyday actions is huge.
Leading by example makes sense. What's the second one?
Practicing gratitude together as a family. This could be anything from sharing what you're grateful for at dinner to having a family gratitude journal.
Okay, I like that. Building it into family time. And what about the third strategy?
Creating rituals around gratitude. This could be something like a gratitude jar where everyone writes down things they're grateful for and then you share them together. The key is to find something that resonates with your family and makes it a consistent practice.
It sounds like the idea is to make gratitude tangible, not just this abstract idea, but something you actively do and experience together.
Exactly. And the cool thing is that the benefits go way beyond just warm, fuzzy feelings. There's actual research showing that practicing gratitude can have a big impact on our overall well-being.
That's what I was going to ask about. We've talked about the emotional benefits, but what about the science? What are the tangible impacts?
Oh, it's fascinating. Studies have linked gratitude to increased happiness, better physical health, stronger relationships, less stress and anxiety, even better sleep. It's crazy.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. So it's not just a nice idea, it's actually backed up by science.
Totally. And researchers are learning more all the time. They found that practicing gratitude can boost those feel-good chemicals in our brains, like dopamine and serotonin.
It's literally rewiring our brains for happiness.
It can also reduce cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and that has all sorts of positive effects on our bodies.
So simply acknowledging the good is actually changing our brain chemistry.
It's wild,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And this is really just scratching the surface. There's still so much to learn about how gratitude works its magic. But the evidence we have so far is pretty compelling.
It definitely makes you want to pay more attention to those moments of appreciation, right? To really savor them. Lunarize has some really thought-provoking questions in her blog post, and I'd love to put those same questions to you, our listener. Think about this for a moment. What are you most grateful for right now, in this very moment? Big or small, what brings a smile to your face?
She also asks how often we express gratitude to the people around us. Do we make it a habit to acknowledge the kindness and love in our lives?
And how can we deepen our appreciation for those everyday blessings that we might be taking for granted? Things like a warm bed, a roof over our heads, the ability to connect with people we love. What can we do to bring those things into sharper focus?
It's a great invitation to take stock of our own gratitude practices, isn't it?
It definitely makes you pause and reflect. And speaking of reflection, I'm really curious to explore how gratitude can help us through those tough times.
Yeah, the hard stuff. How
Yeah.
do we stay grateful when things aren't going so well?
Exactly. We'll dive into that and more in the next part of our deep dive, so stay tuned.
So we're talking about staying grateful when life throws us those curveballs.
Yeah, how do we tap into that gratitude when things get tough, when maybe we don't feel particularly grateful?
It's definitely a challenge. One thing that can be helpful is to actively look for the good, even in the midst of those difficult situations. It's about intentionally shifting that focus, you know, from what's wrong to what's right.
So even when it feels like everything's going wrong, there's still something to be grateful for.
Oh, absolutely. It might be tiny, it might not be obvious at first, but if we really look, we can always find those little glimmers of light.
Like what? Give me an example.
It could be the support of a friend, a moment of peace and crazy day, even just the fact that we can breathe, experience this moment.
It's like choosing to see the good, even when it's hard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do we actually do that? How do we make that shift when our minds are kind of, stuck on the negative?
Yeah, that's the part I struggle with. Are there any techniques or practices that can help?
One thing I find helpful is using affirmations.
Affirmations, like positive self-talk.
Yeah. It's about using words to actually reprogram our thinking.
So we're literally telling ourselves to be grateful.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
You're basically choosing specific phrases, positive statements that resonate with you and repeating them either out loud or silently.
Okay, give me an example. What kind of affirmation would you use for gratitude?
There are tons. It could be something like, I'm grateful for all the good in my life, or I'm surrounded by love and support. Anything that feels authentic to you.
It sounds almost like we're creating new pathways in our brain, training ourselves to think more positively.
That's a great way to put it. And just like with any muscle, the more we exercise that gratitude muscle, the stronger it gets.
So consistency is key.
Totally. Now, this might sound a little strange, but Lunarize also talks about finding gratitude for the challenges themselves.
Wait, what? Be grateful for the hard things. That seems counterintuitive.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But think about it. Challenges, they often push us to grow, to learn new things, to become more resilient. They can reveal our hidden strengths. So if we can find a way to be grateful for those lessons, we turn those obstacles into something positive.
It's like instead of seeing a challenge as a roadblock, we see it as a detour that leads us somewhere even better.
Exactly. But I get it. It's easier said than done. When we're right in the middle of something difficult, all we feel is that frustration, that overwhelm.
So how do we actually make that shift in perspective?
Well, first, we got to accept that challenges are just part of life. Nobody gets a free pass. And a lot of times, it's through those tough times that we learn and grow the most.
It's like those challenges, they shape us. They make us who we are.
And if we can be thankful for those lessons, even the really tough ones, they become a source of strength and wisdom. But remember, gratitude is a practice. It's not something we just achieve and then we're done.
Like a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. There will be days when it feels easy, and there will be days when we got to work at it. The important thing is to keep showing up, keep choosing gratitude, even when it's hard.
So consistency is key, even when we don't feel like it.
And honestly, even small acts of gratitude can make a huge difference. Take a moment to appreciate nature. Say thank you to someone who did something nice. Write down a few things you're grateful for before you go to bed.
Those little things add up.
They really do. It's like we're creating this positive feedback loop. The more we practice gratitude, the more we notice things to be grateful for, and then we feel even better. It's a beautiful cycle.
It's like gratitude breeds more gratitude.
And here's something else to think about. Gratitude is contagious. When we express gratitude to others, it has a ripple effect. It spreads that positivity and kindness.
So we're not just benefiting ourselves, we're making the world a little bit better.
Exactly. And that brings us back to Dr. Dispenza and his idea that our thoughts and emotions have this energetic impact on the world around us. When we're radiating gratitude, we're actually raising the vibration of the planet. It's powerful stuff.
This is blowing my mind. So gratitude is not just a feeling, it's this incredible force for good.
It really is. And the more we understand it, the more we can harness that power to transform our lives and the world around us.
Well, I am definitely feeling inspired to up my gratitude game.
Me too.
Eh.
And before we move on, let's take a moment to think about what we've learned so far. What are some of the key takeaways that really resonate with you?
I think for me, it's that gratitude is a choice. It's not something that just happens to us. It's something we actively cultivate. And the more we practice, the more natural it becomes.
That's such a good point. It's not about waiting for things to be perfect before we can feel grateful. It's about choosing to see the good in every moment, no matter what.
And as we build that habit, as we make gratitude a part of our lives, we open ourselves up to a whole world of possibilities, More joy, more abundance, more fulfillment. It's amazing.
Well said. It's about recognizing that abundance is already there and letting ourselves receive it. But also, it's about remembering that gratitude is a journey, not a destination.
It's something we work on, something we grow into.
Exactly. It's about showing up every day and choosing to see the good, even when things are hard. And the more we do that, the more we realize that gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's like a superpower.
It really can transform our lives.
And create a ripple effect of positivity that touches everyone around us.
This has been so insightful. I'm so glad we took this deep dive.
Me too. And speaking of deep dives, we've got one more part to go.
That's right. In the final part, we're going to get practical. We'll be sharing some tips and strategies for weaving gratitude into our everyday routines. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
So we've talked about the why of gratitude. Now let's get into the how. How do we actually make this a part of our lives?
Yeah, where do we even start? I'm ready to put all this into practice.
It can feel overwhelming, right?
Mhm.
But it doesn't have to be this big, complicated thing. The key is to start small and be consistent.
Small steps, consistency. Got it. So what are some small steps we can take? What are some easy ways to start incorporating gratitude into our day-to-day lives?
One thing that I find really helpful is to just take a few moments throughout the day to pause and really appreciate the good things, no matter how small they seem.
Okay, so like what? What are some examples?
It could be anything, like savoring that first sip of coffee in the morning, or noticing a beautiful flower on your walk, or appreciating a kind gesture from someone.
It's about being more mindful, right? Paying attention to those little things we usually just take for granted.
Exactly. We're so used to focusing on what's wrong, what we're lacking. But when we shift our focus to what we do have, even those simple everyday things, it can make a huge difference in our overall outlook.
I can see that. But what about those days when it feels really hard to find anything to be grateful for? When we're stressed, overwhelmed, maybe dealing with some tough stuff.
That's when gratitude is even more important, It's a lifeline. It helps us stay connected to something positive, even when things feel chaotic.
So even in the midst of a storm, there's still something to be grateful for. How do we find that when it feels like all we can see are the dark clouds?
But one thing we can do is focus on the things that are within our control. We might not be able to change the situation, but we can choose how we respond to it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So instead of dwelling on what's going wrong, we focus on what we can appreciate, even if it's something small.
Right. Like having a roof over our heads, a warm bed, the love and support of the people in our lives, those basic things that we often take for granted.
It's about finding that sense of grounding, that foundation when everything else feels shaky.
Exactly. And another powerful tool is using gratitude to actually reframe those challenges.
Wait, reframe them? What do you mean?
Well, instead of seeing them as setbacks, as failures, what if we saw them as opportunities? Opportunities for growth, learning, resilience.
Okay, that's a really different way of looking at it. But how do we actually make that shift? How do we go from feeling defeated to feeling grateful for a challenge?
A good place to start is to ask ourselves some questions, like what can I learn from this experience? Or how can I use this to become stronger, more resilient, more resourceful?
It's about looking for the lessons, the growth potential, even when it's hard to see.
And sometimes it takes time. That silver lining, it might not be obvious right away. It might take some reflection, some processing. But that journey of seeking out the good, even in the tough stuff, that's where the real magic happens.
It's like we're taking our power back, We're choosing to focus on the positive, on the growth, rather than getting stuck in the negativity.
Absolutely. And that's a huge part of cultivating a gratitude mindset. It's about choosing to see the good, even and especially when it's hard. Mhm. And one more thing I want to mention is the importance of expressing gratitude to others.
Oh, yeah, that's something Lunarize talks about too. Why is that so important?
Well, when we express gratitude to others, we're not only strengthening our relationships, we're also creating this ripple effect of positivity.
So it's not just about us feeling good, it's about making other people feel good too.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be this big, grand gesture. A simple thank you said with sincerity can make someone's day.
It's about taking the time to appreciate the people in our lives, big and small.
And the beautiful thing is, it benefits both the giver and the receiver. When we express gratitude, we're also reinforcing those feelings within ourselves.
It's like this amazing cycle of good vibes.
And those good vibes, they can spread outward, creating a more positive and loving environment for everyone.
I love that image of gratitude as this ripple effect, spreading out and touching so many lives.
It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? And it reminds us that our own personal practice of gratitude, it's not just about us. It's about making the world a better place.
That's powerful stuff. So as we wrap up this deep dive into gratitude, what are your final thoughts? What do you hope our listeners will take away from this conversation?
I hope they feel inspired to start incorporating gratitude into their own lives, even in small ways. And I hope they remember that gratitude is a practice, a journey. It's something we cultivate, we nurture, we grow
It's
into.
not a destination, it's a way of life.
Exactly. And the
Yeah.
more we practice it, the more we realize just how powerful it truly is
Gratitude really can change our lives.
and change the world.
This has been such a great conversation. Thank you for sharing your insights and wisdom with us.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all of our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it inspiring and empowering. Remember, gratitude is a gift, a superpower, and it's available to all of us. So go out there, flex those gratitude muscles, and let's create a more grateful and joyful world together.